the insanity with people denying it. So now the evidence is out, the proof is out, and it's like these fucking people, man. You can grab them by the head, you just bang their head against the wall, right, and be like, admit there is some fraud. Admit, and they'll sit there until their heads bashing and go, no, 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 no. We want to legitimately like these people. And same with science, same with everything going on. Okay, welcome to Goals First, podcast number 2, the podcast where your goals come first. Now, today on podcast number 2, it's been really interesting and really different. Today I have Jay with me. And this is a good friend of mine. We went to school together, had a lot of good times, a lot of good conversations. He's a very smart dude. And today we're actually not so much talking about goals, but talking about something you have to understand when you are a person who's goal oriented and achieves your goals. You have to understand that the people that do these things don't think like everyone else. So, if you want to be a millionaire, you can't be thinking the way all the people that work 9 to 5 for $10 an hour think. You have to put your goals first, hence the name. So to achieve what no one else achieves, you have to think like no one else thinks. And part of that is understanding the mainstream news, the mainstream companies, the mainstream everything often misleads you for political gain or for money or for a variety of bad reasons. So that's what the podcast today is going to be about. We're going to be getting a lot into the mask mandate and stuff going with COVID. And my friend Jay is very, very woke. I hate to use that word, but it's accurate, woke on what's going on. And we're going to just kind of discuss it. So Jay, you want to give a little intro of who you are and your knowledge background?
Absolutely. That was a great intro. Just wanted to say, so basically I'm a recent college grad, went to IUP with Jared here, and I graduated with magna cum laude. I was a computer science graduate, minor mathematics, and basically just been getting my life together, just got a recent position now, not exactly my field, but it has a lot of room for growth. I've been studying cloud computing, getting certifications in that through AWS, been studying cryptocurrencies, investing, things of that nature, as well as spiritual topics, meditation, things like that. So I'm definitely into life development, self-improvement, things of that nature. So
Facts. I think that right there sums up why Jay knows such a variety of stuff. Clearly he's looking at everything from crypto to looking into medical stuff. You seem to be very well read from when we talk. So
absolutely, thanks. So,
yeah, I want to start this off real quick. So we're gonna talk about masks a lot. I think maybe the vaccine, talk about other stuff with COVID. But today I had an interesting experience, and this might shock a lot of people. I live in Philly, live near Temple, and I went to a supermarket and I posted to my Snap story. And of course, everyone freaked out. But I basically went to the supermarket. I didn't wear my mask. I just walked in, did my shopping, and I paid and I walked out. And nothing happened. I know everyone's thinking, "Oh my God, they're gonna stop you. You're gonna kill everybody. It's gonna be a massacre. It's gonna be like 9/11. It's gonna be like the Hulk." I don't know what these people think, dude. But everyone thinks if you don't wear a mask, it's gonna be the end of the world. Nothing happened. So that's good news. And we're gonna use this to dive into our topic. But I did not wear a mask. It's not because I'm inconsiderate. It's not because I don't care if people get sick. It's because I don't think the masks are effective. I think the science is lying. And now on top of the mask, we're also going to look into the voter issue, which is another main reason that Jay is on right now, is voter fraud. And there is just insane issues with voter fraud. I do want to cover both of these issues. I kind of threw out the mask thing, but also we're here to talk about the voter fraud. So I want to just do the mask thing quickly, and then we'll go to the voter fraud issues. What's your view on the masks, and then we'll dive into voter issues.
So in general, for the mask, like you have to, if you actually look into it, you'll find that there are studies that have been done by NIH, National Institute of Health, CDC, other places that they have actually studied the effectiveness of the mask in actually blocking respiratory illnesses. And for sure, there are actual, medical peer-reviewed published journals that will tell you that the result is basically negligible, whether or not you wear them. But even if you don't even want to go there, the basic fact is, if we're to believe that this is the most contagious, most spreadable disease ever, like look at the protocols that you go to in a science laboratory or in a military bioweapons facility when you want to stop the transfer of pathogens. These people are wearing full on, hazmat suits. They're in a certain zone. Whenever they leave, even multiple times a day, they'll change the clothes they're wearing. They'll have a biocontainment unit where they'll burn all the clothes like 3,600 degrees. And then they'll leave and they'll have other decontamination and sprays. And that's how you really protect something like that from going on. Like,
so are you saying my cloth mask I've used every day for the past 6 months is ineffective? No way.
And I can actually show you. I have it favorited on my YouTube there's a clip of Dr. Fauci telling you that it doesn't do anything and telling you that's not effective. Let me just
You know
play
what's
that.
funny? So a lot of people deny a lot of things in politics. They'll be like, Trump never condemned white supremacy when he did. But with the Fauci thing, like my own parents, they'll be like, well, yeah, he flip flopped on that, but that's because like the new data. Once he read the new data, he learned. It's like, listen, what really makes sense? He had 20, 30 years of experience, and he knows the mask is ineffective. And then because of politics, he said, "Oh, please wear it," or magically some article that came out after 20 years of his knowledge just changed his mind. Like, what's more likely?
The new data was the politics of the situation.
Yeah, oh, of course. People don't want to admit that.
They have the studies. They have the studies from a scientific standpoint, from a military standpoint. You can read declassified documents on bioweapons and the transfer of them and how contagious some of them are and how deadly other ones are. And people think that it's too taboo to talk about bioweapons in relation to coronavirus. But the fact of the matter is, for every single natural pathogen that's out there, from influenza to polio to rabies to you name it, for every single natural pathogen out there, there is like 5 to 10 different genetically engineered, biologically weaponized versions of them made by different countries, from South Africa to Israel to the United States to you name it. So we know for a matter of fact that there was a level 4 bioweapons facility right within a few hundred yards of the wet market that the Chinese are claiming that it came out of.
And it doesn't make no sense. Like it switched from animals to humans perfectly on its first try.
At this time, and this has been in Senate, intelligence, committee reports that they've shown to the public by, Senator Tom Cotton. I can, play that for you as well. But like, we know that it happens, and even then, like, not only was there a bioweapons lab right next to there, basically, they were also happened to be working on coronaviruses. And
oh God, I'm not surprised.
I think we should absolutely play that just so the listeners.
Yeah,
I'm not sure. I think try playing it from the beginning. It is worth seeing. This is a senator. This isn't just. If I say it's a bioweapon, then I'm just a crazy dude, right? But this is an actual thing.
The biggest and the most important story in the world, the Wuhan coronavirus. This coronavirus is a catastrophe on the scale of Chernobyl for China. But actually, it's probably worse than Chernobyl, which was localized in its effect. The coronavirus could result in a global pandemic. While you were all sleeping overnight, the number of diagnosed cases in China increased by 30%. Now, let me be clear, that's not new cases, that is just newly admitted cases. It is probably several orders of magnitude higher than that. Also, while you were sleeping, China now has its entire border with Russia closed, 2,600 miles. Russia has closed that border. El Al has shut down travel between Israel and China. Air France has shut down travel between China and France. And that's in addition to all the other countries that have already shut down travel. From what we know so far, and there's still many unknowns, this virus could have both a long incubation period, as much as 14 days, and individuals could be contagious while asymptomatic, which was not the case with SARS in 2003. Furthermore, from some cases, it appears that the virus could be aerosolized, which means it doesn't require the kind of contact that you have with, say, a married couple kissing each other or a family living in close quarters in a hotel or apartment, but rather the distances we are all sitting apart right now. Yet China is still lying about all of this. They've been lying about it from the very beginning, and you don't need their history of lying about SARS in 2003, though it is relevant here. You just have to see what's happened over the last 2 months. We now know that the first case manifested no later than December 1.
Notice of the time where he said this, January 30th, 2020.
Yes. Yes. Should I just keep it going?
He's gonna get there.
Huh?
Yeah, he's gonna get there. Trust me, it's important. Keep going.
China didn't reveal it to the WHO until a month later on December 31st, when they continued to hide it from their own citizens. And they continued to say that it had been contained inside Wuhan. Today, it is in every single province in China. They also claimed for almost 2 months, until earlier this week, that it had originated in a seafood market in Wuhan, that locals had contracted it from animals in, say, bat soup or snake tartare. That is not the case. The Lancet published a study last weekend demonstrating that of the original 40 cases, 14 of them had no contact with the seafood market, including patient zero. As one epidemiologist said, that virus went into the seafood market before it came out of the seafood market. We still don't know where it originated. Could have been another seafood market. Could have been a farm. Could have been a food processing company. I would note that that Wuhan also has China's only biosafety level 4 super laboratory that works with the world's most deadly pathogens, to include, yes, coronavirus. Now, look at China's own actions. They have quarantined.
That was the part I really wanted people to hear. You can pause now. I just want to make a couple points about that real quick.
Okay, first, back to our. Am I good at going back to the main video, or do you need to show more of this?
Nope, that's it. We're done with that.
Okay, go ahead.
The point I really wanted to make about that is when they talk about level 4 bioweapons lab, these are the highest classification for biological weapons of what they can do. And this isn't like a McDonald's in every corner. China has one that they tell us about. There probably are more, but they have one that we know of publicly, and it just so happens to be in Wuhan. It just so happens to be a few hundred yards away from the sweat market. So I think if you were an investigator, I think if you were being paid to come to the truth of this, I think there's no way on earth you would overlook those details if you were a detective. You know what I'm saying? So, and then there's, of course, the fact that they mentioned Lancet. Lancet is one of the most prestigious medical institutions ever. And they also said that many of the original patients, including patient zero, had no contact with the wet market before, before cases arose.
So you believe this was planned or just a leak in a lab that creates viruses?
That's basically the main question I've been asking myself for the last 6 months. I think it basically comes down to that, whether or not it was accidentally leaked, whether or not it was planned. Because there are accidental cases that even back during 2018, 2017, there were accidental leaks of SARS-CoV through different labs in China. Interestingly enough, maybe some of them are accidentally. But the problem I have with believing that COVID specifically is accidental, because there are certain precursors that took place to it, like Event 201, where the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, in combination with the Johns Hopkins University, ran a simulation back in October, a few months before the coronavirus, epidemic began. They ran a simulation on a coronavirus outbreak spreading around the world. Of course, the Rockefeller Foundation lockstep document, which back in 2010 predicts a basically dystopian type, authoritarian government arising in the wake of a pandemic, and they even specifically quote that it will be a SARS-CoV HIV hybrid strain. And a lot of people don't know about the HIV part, but even I'll send you this link again just so you can put it on the air so people know. Even one of the original discoverers of HIV who looked at the coronavirus says that it had multiple strains of multiple genetic sequences of HIV.
Right. I've heard about this, how it's got HIV and stuff in it. Now, I do think that it was either an accident or it was on purpose, but it was on purpose for like a small scale. I don't think when it was leaked out of a lab or whatever happened, I don't think it was intended for this. But I do think that the pandemic is a hoax in the sense that the virus is real, but they use the virus for a plandemic, and you look at things like this voter issue. Who would have thought mail-in ballots on the scale would have been a disaster? How about fucking every conservative out there that everyone knew, them conservatives, everyone, Democrats, Republicans, we all knew it would be a disaster. But the Democrats knew they could use it to steal the election. That's why the whole thing with the mail-in ballots being pushed as hard as they pushed them, and then we had hundreds of thousands of fraudulent ballots. That's a little weird the way that tied into Corona.
Oh, absolutely, and you're right. I wasn't even going to mention that, but how it ties into the Corona, and because of the pandemic, this gives the first pretext in order to do it. I was just about to say, I'm only 25 years old, but as long as I've been alive, I've never seen an election like this, where it lasts for multiple days and it's towards the end of the week. You don't even know who really won, and even now it's still being contested. This is the most contested election I've ever seen. Most people who I know have ever seen.
And there's evidence. It's not like we're just contesting it. There is hundreds of thousands of fraud that's been discovered already.
And Trump's main lawyers, Rudy Giuliani and Sidney Powell. Sidney Powell is a really, really serious lawyer, very respected. And she's saying that they have millions of votes nationwide that they can flip to Trump. She's saying that there are multiple states that they can overturn. I got this link too. Did you see her say that?
Mm-mm.
I'll send it to you. You should definitely put that up on screen. I got that up right now.
You send that. I'm gonna also share something on my screen as well. Well, you find that. But what I'm gonna share, and I'm sure you know what this, Jay, is the machine. I forget what company it is. That's funded by the Clinton Foundation, of course. Shocker. What was the machine called that's funded by the Clinton Foundation that screwed up all the votes? You know what I'm talking about? The glitch machine.
Yeah, it's also funded by Soros as well, and it's
Oh
been
God, of course.
over elections in other nations like Venezuela.
Let's see if I can find this. So right now, guys, my screen sharing, so I'll explain. Like, I have some articles up on the board on the screen. So like right here, this is some legal documents. It talks about what happens when this happens. It says any elector who receives, I'm right here on the B area. Any elector who receives and votes an absentee ballot pursuant to Section 1301 shall not be eligible to vote at a polling place on election day. So basically, if you read through this stuff, it gets into, and I'll post a link to all these documents. This gets into explaining that like the massive fraud. They basically throw out all the rules and they say, hey, you can vote whenever, go a week later. You cannot have an address on your thing. Your signature is not the match. Like everything that you're supposed to go on an election to enforce legitimacy, the Democrats threw it out. Your address is not the match. Your signature is not the match. You don't even need an address. You can mail it in a week after. Like, this stuff's insanity. This article says a mess in Michigan. And this is about the machine that this machine that counts the votes was funded by, I know this for a fact, the Clinton Foundation. You're saying apparently George Soros as well. Two very shady characters are funding the machines that count the votes. A mess in Michigan, glitch turns red, county blue. This is true. Plus 138,000 sudden votes for Biden. So, there's the machines are effing up on both sides, but there's one side that's clearly favoring the oopsies, Next one, Justice Alito temporarily grants Pennsylvania GOP request to enforce segregation of ballots that arrived after Election Day. So again, this is just showing that the court itself is realizing there's real issues going on. So like, I'm not a lawyer, I'm not a judge, but when you look at these news stories, and it's not just us saying, it's not just some Alex Jones crazy people saying these things, actual, justices and judges and whatever are enforcing this. There's fraud going on. Next one, I'll let you talk in a second, Jay. Bay Area voters receive multiple ballots, fuel concern over November election. And this is getting into how people, I know I did at my house, my roommates too, we got like 4 or 5 mail-in ballots each. We don't need 4 or 5 per person. There's no reason for that. It's ridiculous. And then I'm trying to find the link about the machine. Disappeared. And as my screen is being shared, you guys can just see these titles. 80,000 ballots disappeared in Baltimore. Mail ballots found in the road ditch in Wisconsin. 134 felony voter charges announced in Dem primary. Yada 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 yada. Project Veritas. I'm sorry, I forgot people watching that wanted to get right to the point here, but I wanted to find the name of it. Jay, do you know the name of the machine I'm talking about? The company starts with the D.
Yeah, Dominion Software.
What's it called?
Dominion.
That's it. Dominion. So,
Dominion and Smartmatic are the two main companies, but Dominion is the main
one. Yeah. So I don't see it right now, but essentially, and the links will be below in the video.
Dominion is the name of the software. Smartmatic is the name of the company.
Okay. You want to explain what happened with that?
Yes. So I'm actually gonna play. I'm gonna send you. Basically, all you have to do is play this link. It's a very short, 47-second link from a Michigan GOP chair who talks about how this glitch switched 6,000 votes from Biden to Trump just in this one.
And that's just what we know about. We think it did it on multiple locations.
Exactly.
Just times, hundreds of
times. That the same software is used in 47 other counties. So let me send this to you. The thing I sent you before was of the Trump attorney, Sidney Powell, saying that they're fixing to overturn the results of the election in several states.
Yeah.
And I mean, people should definitely go out and watch that because she sounds rather convincing. She's not just your average lawyer. Like she's she's been in the political game for decades and decades and decades. Her and Rudy Giuliani really are something of a power team.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Anyone could make this happen for Trump. Because remember, I was texting you the night of the election. I was like, this might be over, bro. Communism might be coming in, dude. This might be the end. Like, but like with seeing how, first of all, how much voter fraud there is, course, we haven't even talked about the USPS whistleblowers in Pennsylvania,
yeah, we'll get to that, but yeah.
in Wisconsin and Michigan, saying that they were ordered to backdate, illegally backdate, you know what I'm saying, the mail-in ballots to, so they can say that they came in enough time. But basically, with Sidney Powell and with Rudy Giuliani, it might be enough to make this happen. Let me send you this link. Just play this of it's the second one, the Twitter one. Twitter.com.
I mean, it's almost crazy. There's so much evidence. It's too much to even go over. Like come on.
I also have anyone in here. Election witnesses say Kanye's Michigan votes were stolen by Joe Biden.
I wouldn't be surprised. Okay, this is it.
Ballots were counted for Democrats that were meant for Republicans, causing a 6,000 vote swing against our candidates. The county clerk came forward and said tabulating software glitched and caused a miscalculation of the votes. Since then, we have now discovered that 47 counties use this same software in the same capacity. Antrim County had to hand count all of the ballots, and these counties that use this software need to closely examine their results for similar discrepancies. The people of Michigan deserve a transparent and open process. If all this wasn't enough, in Antrim County.
Okay, that's it. So,
now my guy, real quick.
Yeah.
Because that pretty much came out the day of, or maybe the day after the election, right? And now they're saying a lot about glitch this, glitch that. It's funny how all of these glitches flip the votes from Trump to Biden, or from Kanye to Biden. There aren't any reports of these glitches flipping them from, Biden to Trump. Now, watch this video from Sidney Powell, real quick. This is Trump's main lawyer. There are lawyers from Trump's team that quit when he lost.
Wow.
Powell's team, Sidney Powell came on. So watch this video real quick.
Okay, sounds good.
Today, I'm going to show you the 5 foods you must avoid.
The 5 foods I must avoid eating. Okay.
Peter Neffringer, tell me how he fits into all of this.
Yes, well, he is listed as its former Admiral Peter Neffringer, or retired Admiral Peter Neffringer. He is president and on the board of directors of Smartmatic. And it just so happens he's on Mr. Biden's presidential transition team that's going to be non-existent because we're fixing to overturn the results of the election in multiple states. And President Trump won by not just hundreds of thousands of votes, but by millions of votes that were shifted by this software that was designed expressly for that purpose. We have sworn witness testimony of why the software was designed. It was designed to rig elections. He was fully briefed on it. He saw it happen in other countries. It was exported internationally for profit by the people that are behind Smartmatic and Dominion. They did this on purpose. It was calculated. They've done it before. We have evidence from 2016 in California. We have so much evidence, I feel like it's coming in through a fire hose.
I'm going to go back to the actual me and you talking now, just because it'd be easier. So, what I want to know with this stuff is just the insanity with people denying it. So now the evidence is out, the proof is out, and it's like these fucking people, man. You can grab them by the head, you just bang their head against the wall, right, and be like, admit there is some fraud. Admit, and they'll sit there until their heads bashing and go, no, we won legitimately. Like these people, and same with science, same with everything going on right now. The cognitive dissonance is unreal. These people will deny fact you show to them to their face. And I don't even know what the fuck's going on, man. It's crazy.
Shows that we've reached a certain point in like the 1984 scale where it's like the media is not attempting to hit us with anymore. It's just trying to stonewall us. Like, there is no evidence of fraud. There's
None.
no evidence. There's nothing. It's like, hey, what about this USPS whistleblower giving a sworn affidavit that he was ordered to backdate the mail-in ballots? What about this Dominion software that switched thousands of votes? Like, what about, doesn't this stuff count? It's like, what about that? I saw videos the day of the election of Pennsylvania, what's the word? Republican poll watchers being refused access into certain what's it called? Philly poll access places. There are actually, I'm sorry, I'm just getting a little distracted from typing that in.
Yeah, go ahead, keep talking.
You should just stop the screen share for a sec.
I was trying to find the minion thing, but go ahead, keep going.
I was saying, like, the day of the election, I was watching. It was even on Twitter. The time I watched it, had 700,000 views. Later on in the day, it had several million views of this Republican poll watcher being refused access to this poll in Philadelphia. It happened in other places where they were boarding up the windows with cardboard and other stuff. Do you remember hearing about that?
I do. I remember seeing videos of it.
I saw videos of it too. It's really, all this stuff is really out there, and it's like, to say that there's no evidence of fraud, like, they're going to be left with their asses hanging out if Trump actually ends up turning the election around because of fraud. You know what I mean? You feel me?
Yeah. So I was looking at this real quick. So, I mean, it's hard to find on the spot because the news is suppressing it, as we all know. But essentially, the Clinton Foundation was funding the Dominion machines, and I just wanted to pull up the screen so people could see this isn't just like some made up thing. It's very, very legit. It's very real. And then when you go, what I find interesting, I was just searching it now, is so when I go to it, so there's like, like Newsbreak has it, but even on like Snopes, where was it? Dominion voting systems fraud claims. Okay. The claim, the origin, and they have not, Snopes won't answer to it. They will not say it's false or true. They essentially just say, if you look at it, fact check by Snopes, no ratings, what it says. And you can see it on my screen. I'm highlighting it, no rating. So the Snopes, which is pretty objective usually, won't even touch it. And then you have the fake news at the top, like ABC, false claims, spread online election, blah, blah, blah. So something's up when the mainstream news won't talk about it. And the places that do fact checking are like also won't talk about it. They won't acknowledge it. But it's an uphill battle when everyone controlling the media is hiding this stuff from the people.
Snopes to me has always been one of the just least credible.
Really?
Like Snopes will. I've seen some really funny stuff come out of Snopes. I wish I could show you an example. Stuff where like they just try to. It's their job to not just discredit but debunk. They try to debunk everything, and they always try to look for their little ways of doing it. Snopes to me isn't very credible, but like to me, it's like we at this point in time we have to stop even trying to kind of toe the line and kind of walk this sort of mainstream path. The mainstream path now is they want to be able to steal elections right in front of you, and you're supposed to sit there and take it.
Right, you're supposed to just accept it.
If I'm going along with this. This is going to be the fork in the road. Like, if Donald Trump doesn't unfuck the situation, basically, if he doesn't take back the election system, expose the fraud, he should have. But by the way, a lot of the stuff that's happening right now, it was happening in the 2016 election too. Even in some of the same states, I remember there were the same kind of voting software glitches, middle of the night, tens of thousands of votes being added in places. This stuff even happened in the 2016 election. And I remember there's certain people saying that if Donald Trump doesn't punish people involved this time, next time around, they're going to do it a lot worse. And
they're going to try no matter what. They clearly, they have proven that they do not play by the rules and they don't care what they do.
It is nuts.
What is that?
I would definitely want you to play this one. This is a relatively new. It's not even play. Just show the headline. It's from Gateway Pundit, but it's from an actual sworn affidavit from a whistleblower in Georgia, IT expert, saying that a sudden surge of 20,000 mail-in votes for Biden in early hours of November 5th, while at the same time 1,000 votes for Trump disappeared. Holy
shit! I mean, yeah, I'll show it. But there's so many of these stories. It's not like there's one of them or two of them. There's like, a list of 100 of these examples. Oh, I better screen share. Hold on. Okay. Okay, so GA, poll watcher, IT expert, non-Trump supporter, affidavit, sudden surge of 20,000 mail-in votes for Biden in early hours November 5th, while approximately 1,000 votes for Donald Trump disappeared. Interesting. So do you want to comment on this at all?
Not exactly, but any more than the obvious. This is just another, board on the wall
Yeah.
of, and especially when they say, like, what makes you want to throw a book against the wall is when they're like, there is no evidence. Especially, yeah, I didn't even mention this, Justice Alito. If there was no evidence, then why would Justice Alito order that, that the ballots that came in after 8 p.m. on election day should all be segregated so that they could be, scrutinized differently by federal authorities? And apparently that wasn't done. And they think they're going to get away with it by not doing it. Apparently, by not doing it, they might be able to get a lot of these votes thrown out, a lot of these mail-in ballots just thrown out. And if that happens, I see Trump winning, but then the left saying he stole it by throwing out, legitimate votes. But these mail-in ballot votes, these ballots coming in the next day, and the mere fact that in the middle of the election night they just stopped counting votes in Wisconsin, Michigan.
Oh no, right. And then 4 a.m. they found every vote they needed for Biden.
That is the most blatantly, unbelievably suspicious thing you could ever believe. How could they just say, "I'm not counting votes anymore"? And then,
yeah. Can you see my screen right now?
Yeah.
Okay. So this is a list of voters from one of the states. Now you might notice something a little bit weird about these. What's it?
Some of them are pretty damn old.
See, there's a few thousand people on this list. So you might be going through this thing. Oh, okay, a bunch of Biden voters. Well, why are they born in 1909? Why are they born in 1920, 1918, 1970? Like, when you're finding that all these dead people voting happen to vote for Biden, this is conspiracy. This is, tactically done efforts to steal the election. This wasn't a mistake. There might be a glitch where like a few dead people vote in every election, but there shouldn't be a few thousand dead people voting. That's not okay. Trying to find some more links here just to have things to go off of. Here's a cool one. So on this link, Michigan, this is a USPS insider delivers testimony of shady postmark scheme to hand stamp November 3rd on late ballots. Calls on other post office workers. If they see anything shady, report it. So now what this is talking about, and I've seen lots and lots of stories like this, the post office workers coming forward or counters coming forward where they were told to either fake the date, disregard the date, or do story stamps on the November 3rd, even if they came at a different date.
Project Veritas, there's a Pennsylvania, and I believe Project Veritas actually has 2 Pennsylvania whistleblowers alleging that exact same thing. And I saw the videos, saw their testimony. So, that is well known. If there's as much fraud as it looks, Trump might be able to turn this around. But then watch the radical left go off the cliff.
Well, their narrative. So what we're going to see now. So it's going to come down to a few things. One is, are the higher courts legit? Are the higher courts in on this conspiracy? I don't know. They might be fair. So assuming that the higher courts aren't part of some grand conspiracy, then what's fair will happen if that's true. So then, the Democrats, especially the, BLM and Antifa people, are going to see this as those evil Trump supporters stole the election because the news lied to them and put out the fake winner. So, just like with BLM, where they're riding everything, it's real issues, but their solutions are terrible. So they're going to be riding over a real issue because they feel like their election got stolen from them, but they have the wrong concept. It's actually the Trump.
Well, quick answer to that. First of all, the thing with if the courts are not, in on the conspiracy, if they're not corrupt, first of all, I think we can't take that as a given. Just think about simple things like Epstein. Jeffrey Epstein was known, the whole thing about him was known 10, 15 years ago. I can show you journalists and quote other conspiracy theorists that talk about Jeffrey Epstein 10, 15 years ago, naming names like 15 years ago. If we had a not corrupt judicial system, tell me why, A, he only got a slap on the wrist the first time, then B, when he gets arrested again, he gets killed in prison very suspiciously. If we had a not corrupt judicial system, something differently would have happened with that situation. I think that really exposed that we don't have the the white picket fence kind of idea of the USA where all is right and we can trust our institutions and all that kind of thing. Because with basically, I think really the game of politics, it's so much of it is regarded to blackmail, money, bribery, things of this nature. I think that's the real.
It's identity politics to a degree.
And it's like Trump made some really strategic moves that were good for him in the last 4 years. Over something well over 100, I think it was even maybe over 200 federal judges that he appointed. getting at least 2, maybe even 3 Supreme Court justices. I can't remember.
It was 3. It may have been 4.
3 Supreme Court justices, several hundred federal judges. That puts him in a good position. This is a judicial battle. Even the battle, like it's a it's a culture war. It's a society war. He had to win the election to be able to put people in there to have his back if they try some fraud like this. So like right now we're going to see if the safeguards of this nation built in by the Constitution are going to hold against the crisis. If not,
safeguards being our courts.
Venezuela, welcome to Soviet Union, welcome to Russia. You know what I'm saying? But this is the crisis point.
What I'm a little scared about right now is there's so much fraud, and so it's not like there's one machine that we have like there's machines that cause 6,000 here, 6,000 there, but there's so many things at once. We have machines counting votes that don't exist. We have machines giving Biden or Trump votes to Biden. We have people on video. I'm sure you've seen them on Twitter. The counter is filling out ballots for people for Biden. You have people filling out fake dates, fake addresses, and fake signatures. So how in the world, let's say the court says, okay, you know what, there's suspicion here, let's do a recount. So now not only do you have to do a recount, here's the issue that I'm seeing. Sure, recount, but the recount has to consider the ballots that were faked. So without making everyone vote again, how do you figure this out? It's gonna be really hard. It's gonna be really hard to make sure that everyone that voted, their votes being counted for who they voted for. And I hope they have the answers, but I don't have the answers as to how in the world they're gonna track that.
I think perhaps it might not be that likely to happen. One of the more fair ways, and that would be, with the Constitution and with many of the actual states' Constitution for how they do elections, would be to just simply discard a lot of these votes that came in the next day or past 8 p.m. on election day. That would be one of the more fair things to do. If not, Rudy Giuliani does say that there are a lot of audits and there are ways to kind of track which votes came in past a certain point of time, being able to throw out those ones, being able to throw out the ones, because Sidney Powell and other people seem to be pretty sure of having the goods on this whole Dominion software thing, having sworn affidavits from people inside the company saying that the software was designed to do this, and then showing what states that it did that. So it's not a matter of getting them all. If they can get enough in the key, they might be able to win. But then even then, the problem is, because I do think we have a pretty weak-kneed government in general, yeah. I think there's every possibility the Supreme Court is going to throw this to the Congress, because there are laws that say that the Congress actually decides who's going to be president during a runoff contested election like this, and every state will get one vote.
That's 12th Amendment. What I find scary is a lot of people. So like my mom is just not very educated on politics, which is fine. I don't think housewives really need to be. She works in the retirement home, so there's just no reason for her to know politics well. My dad used to know politics well, and he's a Jewish business attorney, and he's gotten to the point now, and he might watch this, might not, and think this is true what I'm about to say. He, from my understanding of talking to him, he would rather Biden just take the office and have all this calm down. So they've convinced the boomers, like my dad, and so I'm not talking about uneducated voters. My dad's an educated voter. They've convinced educated older voters to basically just cuck to the left and be like, listen, I'm scared of these BLM and Antifa terrorizing us. I'm scared of the there's fraud. But these Republicans, and it's the same reason we got in this position in the first place, Republicans are always willing to go, well, we'll compromise, we'll work with you. And then you have the radical left going, no, we won't compromise, we won't work with you. It's Marxism or nothing. And, every time that's the situation, we go, okay, we'll move a little bit more to the left to please you guys. And they go, we won't move at all. Eventually, they're going to take over. And we're going to be screwed. And that's what's happening. I'm seeing there's very few people. So you have less Republicans than ever. And then other Republicans, so many of them are either they watch CNN, they watch the fake news, and they fall for it because they're older. Like my dad's not watching real news. He's watching the mainstream news, which of course is lying to him. So they're being misled, and they're also scared. It's like the basic, I told him this, the very basic bully tactic in the movie where the street gang comes up to the little Chinese store owner and says, hey, pay us a protection fee and we'll make sure that you have the peace here. That's what they're doing right now. That's what Biden's doing. Just give us your support and we'll keep the peace. But they're the ones causing it,
Mm-hmm. It's amazing. It's amazing. And personally, I would not identify myself as a Republican. Honestly, I had very much given up on all politics and politicians until 2016. And Donald Trump, I'm like, there may still be some life in this game after all.
But what would you say you are?
I would say I'm a libertarian, but not even, I wouldn't associate myself with the Libertarian Party. I would say I'm just, a freedom-minded individual who
Yes.
believes in limited government, free
Yeah.
market capitalism, true free market capitalism, not this, crony capitalism, managed capitalism, something more akin to an oligarchy. Even more akin to true fascism. Fascism being the technical definition of the merger of state and corporate powers. That's what America has really devolved into more than anything. That's what I think the Great Reset, that Klaus Schwab and the World Economic Forum and the UN Secretary General, even Justin Trudeau, the Prime Minister of Canada, gave a speech the last couple of days talking about the Great Reset and.
I know about the Great Reset. Yeah.
That's what COVID truly is about.
Oh, it's all about the Great Reset. And real quick, the Great Reset. We should talk about that.
Yeah, absolutely. And maybe we should come back and do that for another podcast. I do have a little bit more to get done tonight, but
yeah, it's fine. How long has it been? Do we know?
Next podcast would be a good place to go to.
You know how long it's been? I don't even know what time it is.
It's maybe been not an hour, maybe like 45 minutes.
All right, let's go for like 10 more minutes. Is that good?
Yeah. Okay, yeah. So I'll whet our appetite here for the Great Reset. The World Economic Forum. If anyone denies that, the Great Reset, that COVID-19 is about the Great Reset, I just implore them to look at something called the World Economic Forum's COVID-19 Action Platform.
The World Economic Forum, where there's the rich people that meet once a year or whatever.
Meet somewhere called Davos, Switzerland, and some of the most, prestigious business owners, industry heads, intelligence officials, defense contractors, you name it. Like some of the most wealthy and influential people in the world go there every year, and they basically set a platform for basically their vision of the next future, the next year of the future, basically, with new emerging trends in business and industry technology. They talk about cryptocurrency, all these other things. But what they're talking about more than anything right now is the Great Reset. But we'll send you a link to the COVID Action Platform. It looks like basically a high-tech version of when you have a conspiracy board and it's like, a picture up on the wall and then like a red string goes to here to there. It's that.
Yeah, oh, okay, yeah.
Run by the World Economic Forum. Right?
Okay. Yeah, send the link. I'll open it. It's funny. We covered so much, but on the other hand, we covered nothing. There's so much fraud and there's so much BS going with the mask that we covered like 1% of it. Just
It's going to take me a little second.
Take your time. I'll just rant until you send me the link. So, I think this is a good synopsis. If anyone watching, I'm not sure how I'm going to do it off the top of my head right now, but there's a lot of sources to link. So what I'm going to do is under this video, I'm going to link a link to a platform, maybe Google Docs or something, where you can see all the links and you can see all these links to the voter fraud. And I think it's very important because if you're investigating, or B, you're explaining it to somebody who is just not woke, people don't want to believe that the news is lying to them. So it's important that we have this. You can say, wait, there is all these examples. There is evidence. So I will link that in a link below the video.
Absolutely. All right, I found it. It took me a little while.
It's all good. We also should do a podcast on BLM and Antifa one day. It's always an interesting topic.
Definitely put this up on screen. Intelligence.worldeconomicforum.com.
Hold on. Is this the part where the government tracks me for sharing this?
You should just click X on a.
Yeah, I got it. Okay.
Click. So click. You see that arrow button in the top right corner of the second half of it?
Yeah.
Let's click that. Hide the panel. And now, this is the World Economic Forum, of course. This is basically the different. So in the middle there, you see COVID-19. And then one step out from it, you see basically the different areas of COVID-19, what it affects. Financial markets, travel, trade, vaccine, avoiding infection and spread, on the workforce, and response to recovery, the media's role. And then going out from that, you see another wave of different, things. Between all these things, and like if you Go to the right. You should be able to see Great Reset. You see that Great Reset right above there?
Yeah.
Great Reset. Click on that.
Uh-oh.
This is basically about the World Economic Forum tells you of how they believe COVID-19 is going to change every aspect of human society. The fourth industrial revolution, that is really just a code for the technological revolution or the biotechnology revolution.
And this is going to coincide with globalism, where basically everyone's just poor, and the rich.
But even more than that, that's part of like, the management, the economic management. They're going to manage us based off energy. It's all going to be based off energy, and carbon dioxide is going to be the excuse for why they have to manage every aspect of society. Next podcast, we'll go more into it. But specifically, what's really important about the fourth industrial revolution and what the elite is so excited for is its effect on what they call transhumanism. The fourth industrial revolution is really about transhumanism. And Klaus Schwab, the current head of the World Economic Forum, gave a speech talking about how the biggest marker of the fourth industrial revolution is going to be the merger of man and machine. This sounds crazy sci-fi, but have no doubt that they do intend to do this within our lifetime. This isn't a few hundred years off. You have to understand, these people themselves are billionaires. They themselves are growing old. They themselves also want.
I mean, dude, you were one of the first people to show me about the chip that Elon Musk is producing for your brain. I remember when you showed me, I showed a few friends, and they're like, dude, your friend's probably like Alex Jones, conspiracy theorist. And like a few months later, it came out as real. So like, I know you're on top of your stuff. And that's fine. People, the average person, would rather just call things conspiracy than look into them or consider them might be true. And then it's just everything's backwards right now. The people telling the truth are called crazy, and the people lying are called honest. So,
At this point in time, it's like I've almost gotten past the analogy I heard, and I think it's really good. Is, have you ever seen the videos of lemmings running off a cliff? How when one lemming starts running off a cliff, it starts a stampede. Lemmings are like these kind of like monkey type imp-like creatures.
No, that's an analogy.
They're very like, they follow the leader, and they have this weird thing where when one of them accidentally falls off a cliff, the other one starts falling off the cliff. And you have a stampede of lemmings jumping off a cliff, not asking any questions. And like the analogy is, humanity is pretty much like the lemming colony that's got into a frenzy running off a cliff. And if you try to be the guy who's there, tugging at their arms, tugging at their fur, telling them you don't want off the cliff, hey, come this way, you're just gonna get dragged off with them. To me, it's like this change in society is happening. And if you look throughout history, throughout every major change in society, the average civilian didn't know it was happening. Most of them were caught up in the collapse of the Roman Empire. It was the black nobility that mainstream media will tell you. Mainstream history tells you that there was a ruling class called the black nobility, which was all the aristocrats and royal families and wealthy people of the Roman Empire who got out for the collapse and survived. Before any of these great changes, the fall of the Ottoman Empire, fall of the Hebrew Empire.
Were they black? The black nobility?
No, that's just a name because they were kind of secretive. But they're all white people, Europeans. Okay. But like there are other things like that you see throughout history. During the collapse of when the Hebrews went into bondage, the Babylonians, there were certain priest classes that got out ahead. But it was always the mainstream people who like just didn't pay attention and just got swept up in the waves of change. If you don't want to be swept up in the waves of change, because all the other changes that happen in human history aren't even comparable to how big this is going to be. And real quick,
no one knows.
If you think about where we are technologically, there are about 5 main sciences that any one of them, where we're going to go in the next generation is going to completely transform our society. Genetic engineering, nanotechnology, artificial intelligence, quantum computing, cloning, and artificial life forms. With where we are now in the science, within a generation, any one of those sciences is going to be able to irreversibly transform society. Considering all of those sciences are being developed, considering that there are new forms of financial markets that are being proposed with digital currency and all this, our society is moving into an incredible nexus point of unbelievable change. And it's like, if you have to have some sort of proactiveness, you have to have an idea of where you want to go throughout this, or like you're just gonna get swept up in the waves of change, and you're just gonna get what you get. And for most people, that's a neo-feudal society, as the UN refers to in the 2006 Biological Diversity Assessment. They refer to their ideal goal of world government as a neo-feudal society.
Yeah. I mean, I just want to end it on what you said. Kind of remind me of something. Your lemon analogy. Have you heard of the crabs in a basket analogy? It's similar.
Pull each other back in.
Yeah, so basically, it's very similar to what you were saying. That is, so the crabs are like people. They're kind of stupid, and one crab's just climbing its way up. The way crabs get out of the basket is they climb on top of each other. Eventually, they get a grab and they start pulling themselves up. Right. So imagine this crab's pulling itself up, but it's still hanging around other crabs. So the other crabs go, "Oh, this one figured it out," and they grab him. They pull him down in the process of them trying to get back up. So the crabs in that basket never escape because as soon as one gets up, the other ones pull them right back down. And again, it's just this herd mentality, this sheep mentality where everyone's a sheeple, everyone's a sheep right now. And if you're believing the mainstream because the mainstream said so inherently, like, how do you like most people believe in masks because the news said, science said it was good. That's not really a reason unless you read the science and like you've actually understood it. It's one thing to be like, listen, I trust the news, I don't really know, you can be honest, but like to be like, I know masks are good because the news said so. You're a sheep and you're an idiot. So
Well, I mean, even the thing with masks, it falls flat on its face when if the FDA, not the FDA, I'm sorry, FEMA puts out these different ESFs called emergency support functions of what would happen during a certain sort of emergency, and they do have an actual protocol what you're supposed to do with a mask and how you would use it during how the public would deal with the pandemic, and this would include disposable gloves, masks, and you have to be very serious protocol of how you take off the mask, how you take off the glove, disposing it after every contact outside, disinfectant after every contact outside. Most people aren't doing any of that. They're re-wearing the same mask. They're never I've rarely, since the beginning of this, I've rarely seen anyone out there wearing disposable gloves. They're all touching the same door handles, touching the mask on their face, reusing the mask on their face. I mean, none of it.
They're disgusting. They're disgusting.
None of it is real. Like, if we were doing this legitimately, you would see like biocontainment units on every block where you're supposed to throw out the mask. You would see a giant government rollout where they'd be giving you disposable gloves, giving you disposable masks. You'd know to throw them out after every time you leave the house. It would be like something out of a I Am Legend movie where you'd be holding up, posting up the walls with
Yeah, it just proves you're saying the government doesn't care. They don't care. They know that people are dumb enough to get in line, and this is what we face. But dude, we'll talk about it again. I think we could go on for hours about this because there's infinite to talk about.
No doubt, bro. No doubt. We'll do it again.
Anything else you want to add?
Nope, that was it.
All right. Well, thank you so much for coming on and sharing your knowledge. You always are a little more well-read than I am on this stuff. I usually know the gist of it, but then you can have the better explanation. So thank you so much for coming on and talking.
Thanks. I appreciate it.
All right, man. Thank you. I'm going to end the recording now.